so much loss in the off season, but so much gain, as well. Kind of talk me through what the off season looked like for you guys, losing the guys that you did, and then, kind of putting it all back together, putting the pieces together.
It's the same every year. You're trying to develop the kids in the program. We've had a couple of kids that have moved to Botetourt that are going to help us. It's the same every year. And if you keep doing what you're supposed to do, you don't really rebuild. If you run your program right, the kids stay in the program over a course of several years. The kid that everyone thinks can't play all of a sudden becomes a stud when he's a senior. So it's just about retention, re-recruiting the kids that are here, and just continue to work on the things that we do in our system to make them better.
In the past couple years, so much potential, and it showed on the field, getting into the state semifinals, getting into a state championship game a few years ago. What's the final push, that you guys need to really get there?
When you get to that time of year, it's you got to have some luck. The ball's got to bounce your way. You go back to state semifinal game last year, there's probably 4 or 5 different instances that things flip and go the other way. You could say that as well for Heritage in that state semifinal. When it comes down to 2 good teams and it's a close score, it's just literally who ends up having the ball last sometimes.
What unit do you think is really going to give you guys, the upper hand and the leverage that you guys need throughout the regular season?
I do think this offensive line that we have can be the best one we've ever had or that I've ever coached. If I can do my job. Big, athletic, strong, smart, all the attributes you're looking for in a great offensive line.
And I keep going back. I love how they said we're big because we're Botetourt. What does that mean?
Well, before I ever coached out here, I always heard, how big the kids were and all of that. And if you go walk the halls, of course, you walk the halls of Botetourt, there's a lot of big people out here. It's a lot of big kids, a lot of big human beings. It's a bonus.
And the chocolate milk. I know years and years ago that was a thing that you brought here. How have you kind of got the kids to buy in, not only to that, but just the addition of hard workouts, hard lifts, hard practices?
Well, I think that started with a real small group. The first time we ever lifted weights out here, I can remember January of 2012, we had about 15 kids in the weight room. Those kids were kids that wanted to work, and we did what we normally do, and all of a sudden those kids start swelling up and getting big and muscular and strong. And if something works, people want it. And it was just it's just like anything else. It was a laying of the foundation. Those kids went 6-4 that year. There was a lot of kids that didn't play, didn't want to do that for various reasons, and that's not being negative. And then all of a sudden, they were like, "This works. We want to be a part of it," and it's kind of taken off from there.
And as they mentioned, they consider the most surprising part is the closeness of this team. But you hear that a lot. What makes this team, so tight, so close that it reflects, on the field on game day?
I think one of the biggest things about athletics in general, especially, obviously I'm going to talk about football, is just the difficulty, how hard it is. The mental toughness that's required, the physical toughness that's required, the high character that it takes to be a really good football player. If you have bad character habits, you don't show up on time, people can't trust you, it's hard to be a good player. You can be a good individual and make plays, but you can't make a team function the way that it needs to.